Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program from our studios in Jerusalem. Today we have the third Gaza War update, where we're looking at what's happening in Israel. We're giving you things that you won't get in the mainstream media. If you want information about all the military kind of stuff or the what's happening in Gaza, you have all the mainstream media to look at. But we want to give you what's happening that we personally know about and what's happening behind the scenes. Now, the other thing I want to say is that we're okay at the moment. Nathalie and myself, thank you so much for your messages. A lot of people have been writing to us asking how things are. Ourselves and the family are okay. We're doing good. We're all based pretty much close to Jerusalem, just as we're coming to you from the studio in Jerusalem. So all of us are well, and thank you again for all your messages. The first big news story that I want to talk about, which, as I say, the mainstream probably won't be telling you, is, and it's interesting because it's from the Financial Times in the United Kingdom. It says, and this is what Israeli businessmen are saying: "I'm not sure we've got a safety net. Israeli businesses buckle as war hits economy. Demand has plummeted and companies have shut as consumers and workers are either drafted or shielding." Now, we can certainly give testimony about that because people in our street have been drafted as reserves. This was something that happened weeks ago, and they've been pretty much, most of them, missing for weeks, Nathalie. They've not been around.
Every family in Israel has somebody directly or uncle or cousin or so many people now have been drafted in the army, and we have a friend who is a reservist, and he's 49, I think he said, and he's been also asked to go to be a reservist, and he didn't think that he would be, but he's like.
Yeah. They've had a very huge call up, and indeed many people have volunteered for service over the age limit, overseas, etc. I think we covered that maybe on the second Gaza updates. Yeah, have a look at the video of the second one and you'll see the information about that. Now, the Financial Times goes on to say, loyal customers of Israel's Atlas hotels recently received an unusual email, a desperate plea for donations to save the company from collapse. It has, as far as I know, 16 boutique hotels and has taken on 1,000 evacuees who have been displaced. Again, we talked about that on the last show, displaced after the Hamas's deadly rampage on October the 7th. Now, unfortunately, the Israeli government has not defrayed the cost, made a payment, so they've resorted to a whip round, is what we call it in the UK, asking people for money. We asked suppliers, this is what Atlas Hotels are saying, we've asked suppliers, contacts abroad, employees and the Atlas A-list, our best customers, for help, operations manager Lior Lippman said. The message was stark. He added, if we can't fund ourselves, if we can't get the money in, the business will collapse. Now, Israel's war against the Hamas terrorists has sent shockwaves through Israel's 488 billion economy, disrupting thousands of businesses, straining public finances and plunging whole sectors into crisis. Prime Minister, which is one of the other traumatic things, we think of war as trauma from the actual war itself, but there's also the trauma of the effects of the war on all the rest of the people on what we call the home front. In other words, the effects, the mental effects, businesses closing, employees not being paid. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged to create an economy under arms, promising vast transfers of cash to the endangered companies and regions on a scale last seen during COVID. One of the sad things is a lot of the businesses who've been suffering during COVID have now got the war. They're now plunged into another crisis.
Yes, and if we go to Jerusalem, a lot of restaurants and shops are just closed because the people are not there. The people are at the front, or not enough people are there, and they have to close businesses.
Yeah. Now, critics have said that the eligibility for help is too strict, while others say the measures offered by the government are not enough. The government is abandoning its people. Ron Tomer, head of the Manufacturers Association of Israel, said many were not being fully compensated for lost earnings, and many employees are going to get a nasty shock when they get their next pay packet. Lippman, we're coming back to the Atlas Hotel, he's one of the directors there, said we are still waiting for government aid. By the way, many hotels in Israel are full because the evacuees have been housed there. He says, I would have expected the country to support us when I'm trying to help the people, he added, but I'm not sure we're going to have a safety net, which is very concerning. The bankruptcy of businesses in Israel has a knock-on effect. If one company goes bust, for example, if there's a supermarket goes bust, then the people who are supplying the food to the supermarket have their businesses at risk, and therefore this could have a nasty shockwave. It can
yes,
have
and what you are speaking about all these things, and also like around Gaza, you had a lot of fields and a lot of people who are going to do all the agriculture, and a lot of the Thai workers now are leaving
from Thailand,
or left
Nathalie.
from Thai,
from Thailand.
Yes, and so a lot of them now are left or are leaving, and because a lot of them, I don't know if you remember, but some have been in the massacre of the 7th of October, and so they are just leaving. So it means again that we need some workers, some Israeli workers, to go into the fields and just to go to pick up the potatoes, the tomatoes, whatever needs to be done. So again, this is another thing again in the country who is totally disturbed.
Yeah, and I have actually covered the story on our news stories, which you can subscribe to on our Substack account and also on the website. We have these news stories.
Which is called Israel First.
Right.
Substack.
And you can subscribe to that on the website and the Substack account, and you can get these news stories. I have covered it, so if you go through Substack news stories, you will see the story about the Thai workers, which is a very sad story. As Nathalie was saying, many were killed or injured or taken captive on the October the 7th when the Hamas terrorists were in Israel. Now, this is coming back to the reservists. 350,000 Israeli army reservists have been called up. Now, that's in addition, you think, well, that doesn't sound many out of 7 million, but listen, it's in addition to the regular soldiers, right? So those are the people who already are serving in the military throughout Israel. That's in addition to the police, to fire services, to security services.
Border police,
and that's also, we have to take into account, there's people who are volunteering for security in communities throughout Judea and Samaria, and also in other towns and villages throughout Israel. People are volunteering who have military service. So the actual call up is much more than that. One of the business people were saying that it's about 8% of the workforce of Israel is missing. And again, this has a knock-on effect, because if they're missing, then they're not buying they're not buying things, and so it really is a problem. Now, Lippman said Atlas Hotels is waiting for this assistance, and he is just one. The reason I talk about one hotel chain is that this is what's happening on a general scale, and we're giving you individual stories so that you'll know the behind the scenes of what's happening in Israel. Some of you will be seeing the mainstream media, so you'll only get a certain story, and there's a lot more hardship that the Israelis are facing in the war. And remember, a lot of families are split up because their loved ones are away serving. Now, the Gaza war, this is what they're saying, the business people and the economists. The Gaza war is taking Israel into uncharted territory. We've never, and certainly Nathalie and I have never experienced this since we've been here. We've never had a war of this nature. We did have the 2014 Operation Cast-led Gaza war, and that was for 49 days. And now we're already into over a month as we've come into the studio since the beginning of the war from October the 7th, the attack then. And Michael Stanswick says, this time there's much uncertainty regarding what's happening. He's a professor at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He says there are some signs of recovery after the initial shock. Certainly it's something Nathalie and I have experienced. We did have a run in shops on certain items. Food, for example, was missing in local shops. However, having said that, I noticed we were shopping the other day, Nathalie, and I noticed that there are items missing in some of the shops. So some of that is because there's been people stocking up. Again, we've talked about this, that there was a run, that there was a hoarding a bit. People were told to stock up. That was an official order. I believe it's in our first Gaza war update. We were talking about this, that people were told to do this, and then they changed the instructions, Nathalie.
But everybody was doing the shopping because everybody knew that they needed to have more than usually, not knowing what will happen if they were going to be stuck in the shelters. Right. So it's quite normal.
The instructions were that you had enough food
for 3 days.
For 3 days. And
into your shelter.
Right, in the bomb shelter, in a house. The majority of houses and apartments have a bomb shelter. Some don't.
New one, yes.
The majority do. And they asked you to put food and provisions for 3 days, enough food for 3 days in the shelter. However, that instruction was later withdrawn by the authorities, but it was too late by the time they withdrew it for an interruption with the supply chain, because suddenly the stores, the supermarkets were running out of food and running out of provisions. People were buying, even hardware shops were running short on certain items, but now the supply chain is restocking the shops, so hopefully things will get back to normal. Now, we want to talk a bit about the shekel. Some people have asked, how is the shekel holding up? Well, it's holding up. It's not doing as well as it has, obviously, as in the past. Consumer demand is beginning to revive in Israel, and people are starting to shop again. You have to remember that for quite a period of time, we had no idea what was going on. We knew there were missiles being fired. We knew that there were borders that were dangerous, but we didn't know what to do, what exactly was going on other than that. And so it's taken some time for things to settle down, for people to start to, on the home front, to be able to start to do normal routines again. A lot of building sites, by the way, because one of the things, if you come to Israel, if you've been on tour here, you'll see the crane. They say it's the bird of Israel is a crane because there's all these cranes for building work. Now, a lot of the workers who've been working on these building sites are from Judea and Samaria, from Arab towns, and they have disappeared. Some people say it's because there's been fear to see them here. The borders have been closed, and we're not sure because there's still people working around, but They are not from what's called the Palestinian towns or the Arab towns in Judea and Samaria. And people,
because of that, because I know also another friend who is a worker,
mm-hmm.
and right now he has to work by himself. He's Israeli, but
mm-hmm.
usually he uses Arab workers, and they are not. There are none right now. So he has to do all this job, which is too much. So obviously there is a lot of delays, and there is some big work that he won't be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
This is all over Israel.
Yeah, it says that a survey of Israeli businesses by the Central Bureau of Statistics in Israel found that 1 in 3 had closed or was operating at 20% capacity or less since it began, and reported revenue losses of 50% or worse or more. And as Nathalie was saying, the results are even worse for businesses in the south close to Gaza. Apparently 2/3 of the businesses, that's the majority, have all closed. Meanwhile, the Labour Ministry is saying that 764,000 Israelis, 18% of the workforce, are not working after being called up for reserve duty, evacuated from their towns or forced by school closures to look after children at home. One of the things that happened, and we talked about that, was that there was a limit on numbers of people who could meet inside or could meet outside, and schools were the first to be affected by that. They were also affected by the fact that they had to have a safe shelter, they have to have a bomb shelter mm-hmm. for the school children to run to in the case of a missile attack. Last week, 300 leading Israeli economists have called on the Prime Minister and the economics minister to come up with some sort of solution to the grave blow that has hit the country. And they're asking for a massive rechanneling of funds to deal with the war damage and aid victims and the rehabilitation of the economy, they said in an open letter. Eugene Kandel is the chair of Startup Nation Policy Institute, a think tank, said that this still has not shown, they haven't shown yet that they are sorting the situation out, that they are dealing with this massive blow to the economy, and the businesses, economists and various people are very, very concerned, Nathalie, about what's happening. Independent, by the way, we're talking about businesses, but you have to remember a lot of people are, we would call them in the UK, the self-employed, those who are working for themselves, as Nathalie was saying, have also asked for help from the government for what's happening in Israel. Now, Oren Buta, who's head of the Independent Workers Movement, says the government must extend more comprehensive support to the independents. So there's a lot of things happening in Israel.
No, I mean, we know even our son-in-law who is
mm-hmm.
doing media, suddenly the people who are coming to do some filming are not here. And so it's like you have to rethink, you have to change things, it's a lot of hardship for many people. Now the school are open again, so is helping obviously the families and the moms to go to work, because the problem was like for certain time we didn't know how bad it was going to be. And we receive a lot of rockets. I think 1 out of 3,000.
A lot of rockets being fired. Yeah.
And so because of that, I can't remember now exactly the number is changing all the time. But because now we have much less, like yesterday for the first time, we didn't have a lot of launch of rockets on central Israel. So it makes the people not too stressed. Now, I received also some news from is kind of an orphanage. It's like a place where they are placing children who have trouble with their families, who are orphans, different difficult cases for children. So it's children who had already trouble in their lives, okay, early life. And so they are kind of at-risk children. And so now they have we call it secondary trauma. So the first one was the family trauma, and now because of the war, they are in a secondary trauma. So there is bedwetting, there is stress, they can't sleep, they can't work properly at school when the school are open. But like I was saying, the school are getting open more now. But you have to understand they had staff before, so helping at school. They have less staff now at school because people are gone to the war. So there is a lot of turmoil and stress for the people, and it brings the people back to a certain level of stress that they didn't have for a long time. So in the midst of all of that, there is a bad thing. In the midst of all of that, we can see much more people helping each other. There is people who are going to feed the recruits. And so we see people who are doing some food, they're doing some challah for Shabbat, for the soldiers to have some proper food and not just military ration. There is, again, like we were saying, there is trouble with agriculture, so there is some other people from the yeshivot, the studies, the biblical studies, Torah studies, they stop for a while and they go to help for a while in the field. So we can see a lot of beautiful things, like when Israel is under threat, is like one nation again, and they are helping each other. We have like thousands of beautiful, amazing stories of people helping each other. We have also amazing miracle stories. I will tell you one today. We have a friend, she has 2 of her children in the army. One is in Shrem, which is called Nablus too, but Shrem is the biblical name, and it's very difficult over there. They are dealing with terrorists face to face every day, and he's a surgeon, so he has some people under him. Usually he has to go, he does the night, so 9 p.m. usually he goes to his post and go to do what he needs to do. And one day he was like, I don't feel that I want to go. Okay, I have to order to obey my order, but I really feel that is not right. Let me see what I'm going to do. And in the end, he waited till 10 o'clock, and he went with his people at 10 o'clock. Now, 9:40, there was some terrorist who put a gas bottle and exploded, and it was 30 meters where they should have been, and they will have been injured or dead. I mean, it was like a terrible thing. And so he told his mom, and his mom told me the story, and he showed me the picture of the bottle. It was like almost flat. I mean, the gas bottle. And so you can see, and he said, Mom, I know we can feel the prayers of the people. We can feel that God, Hashem, is there to help us. And he listened to his guts. He felt, no, it's not right for us to go. So you can hear the stories, and there is many stories like that. We heard some other stories. So we can see that God in the midst of all of that. And I tell you, I was saying to Martin yesterday, I was walking the dog yesterday night, and suddenly I felt God's presence so tangible. And I don't feel it like that in the streets usually. And I was like, wow, there is something that's happening. And today I was just praying in the morning, and suddenly I realized that where we live, we are on the mountain of Israel. And you know the passage of Ezekiel 38 and 39, when God said, I will bring my enemies, this is Gog and Magog, I will bring him on my mountain. Now we don't know 100% yet if it's Gog or Magog, but we know that we are in the Araret Hayamim, in the last days. We can feel, we can see everything in front of our eyes right now. And this morning I was like, I never realized that we are on the mountain of Israel. That we are part, because where we are is a kind of a cul-de-sac. So we can't go into the Palestinian territories, which is Judea and Samaria, but we are above or on the other side of the green light. And just God was telling me, yes, I know, I position you there because it's important, because I want you. Like everybody has their position. You know, we are all in this war. You at home, you are as much as us in that war, because your prayers that I was saying, the young man could feel, the soldier could feel your prayers. We are all in this war. The one who is standing for God now is standing for the God of Israel, and your prayers are changing, okay? And so just after praying that, I look at all my news and everything, and the people of our yeshuv, of our community, was in the war cabinet yesterday, because we are part of Judea and Samaria, and they know that there is a war also in Judea and Samaria. Now they are doing a lot of good things in Gaza. There is a lot of terrorists who are killed, we can feed. There is less missiles who are sent and rockets. But now we know that Judea and Samaria is very important. A lot of yeshuv, a lot of communities have to have their own weapons. They need to get more. They need to have more alerts. They need to be more alert. They need to have more observers who are looking at what's happening. I don't know if you hear on the news, but there is people who are attacked on the road every day. Every day. To live in Judea and Samaria is not easy, and they are attacked. So please pray for the people also who are on the mountain of Israel, because God said, I will bring my enemies there, because I will judge the nations on my mountains. He said that. We are not saying that. He said, the God of Israel, the creator of the heaven and the earth, is saying that. And we are seeing now that we are in that war. Now, I remember I was saying last week, in the last report, and I want to repeat for the one who didn't hear, there is few things to say. You need to say the Shema. The Shema is a declaration that God is God. Yeshua spoke in it in Mark 5 and said to the people who were asking, what is the more important commandment? And he says, say the Shema. It's not just for the Jewish people. Yes, we are learning it from them. But if we are standing with the God of Israel, we say the Shema every day, every evening. Is important, because we are declaring that He is the true God. He's our God, and He's standing, and His kingdom is coming. When you pray, pray towards Yerushalayim. You pray towards His throne. He said that His throne will be there forever. Okay, so this is so important. And you say the Psalms, the Tehillim. Tehillim, the Psalms have so many, is like sword. Again, we have a friend who was saying that his wife had a dream, I don't know when it was, but like a while ago. And when people were saying the Tehillim, the Psalms, it was like arrows going into the enemy's camp and doing the job. So there is soldiers, but we are all soldiers praying to His throne is so important, and also blowing the shofar is very important.
And there was one thing we said last week, which I just want to repeat about the images coming out, to be very careful not to allow horrific images into your mind. I understand the reason that they are coming out, but we have to be very careful as believers not to allow horrific images into our mind, because
it damages our soul.
Yeah, it's very damaging for the soul. And at the end of the day, we have to be able to go to sleep, to rest, and these images can really disturb us.
And one last thing also is like we know that there is people who are committed suicide, more people, because they are distressed. We know that, like, our life, our body is God's gift, so we shouldn't do that. But some people are so distressed. We heard about a bus driver who escaped the massacre, who took some children and make that they weren't killed. He's done an amazing things, and he committed suicide. I was so sad when I heard the story, because he saw so many horrible things that he committed suicide. So we have to prevent that. We have to be kind with the people. We have to say also, God, you have given us a life. We don't always understand what you are doing, but we go back under you. We go back under your authority. We go under your wings. We know that you are in charge, and at the end we will understand all the things that's happening. Is that we are in deep stress, I would say, like when a woman is giving birth, and it's like is the pang of birth, of the redemption, and we have to carry on looking at him and thank him for every little thing that are good in our lives, that is strengthening us and strengthening the people also around us. Gratefulness is very important.
And one of the scriptures to leave you with as we finish is, it says, the Bible says, whatever is good, whatever is noble, whatever is true, think about these things. It's almost like written for now. Think about good things, think about positive things, because a lot of the horrific images are not positive, and we need to be thinking about good things, noble things, right things, as the scripture says.
That's it, because if you do that, you have strength again to do some other things.
Right.
And is what we need right now. We need to do some good things and help each other.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to be with you. Again, thank you so much for everybody who's been writing personal comments, personal messages to us. I do apologize. We haven't been able to reply to everybody. We've been a bit inundated in the office, but thank you so much. We do our best to get back to you. Thank you so much for your financial support. We need it more than ever at this time to fulfill this mission, to get the word out about what's really happening in Israel at this very strategic, very serious time. You can visit the website www.israelfirst.org, a lot of information, and you can sign up to our daily news on Substack. You can sign up to our weekly newsletter on our contact page, and the donate page will give you all the information that you need for financially supporting us. So thank you so much, and remember, we're the program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.